Simulated universe. Are we real? How do we know if we really exist or whether we could be living in a computer simulation, somewhat like the Matrix? The simulation argument puts forward the view that we're living in a computer simulation. At the core of the simulation argument, there are 3 points. Number 1, the chances that a species at our current level of development can avoid going extinct before becoming technologically mature is negligibly small. Number 2, almost no technologically mature civilizations are interested in running computer simulations of minds like ours. Number 3, you are almost certainly in a simulation. The argument says that one of these 3 points will be true. Are there technologically advanced civilizations out there? This is a difficult one, as we still don't know whether we're alone in the universe and how life started. There's the whole panspermia theory that argues that life was brought to Earth by asteroids and that we're all descendants from alien organisms. Or perhaps life started on Earth? The game of life shows us how complex patterns can come from simple rules. We can also look at the Drake equation, which is a way of speculating how many civilizations there are in the universe. And the Hubble Deep Field shows us how big our universe is. But still to this date, we haven't officially found any life out there. The wow signal is the closest SETI has ever got. Because of the sheer size of the universe and the fact that we've managed to evolve to such a point without getting wiped out, we can take the first point, that all life will be wiped out before it's technologically mature, to be false. Would we run computer simulations on minds? If we now assume that there are technologically advanced civilizations with the technology to simulate life, we now must ask whether they would. This could happen for ethical or scientific reasons. Perhaps civilizations would not be interested in running a simulation of life. But would they really have become so advanced if they lacked the scientific curiosity? Would technologically advanced civilizations have a moral objection to creating simulations of life? Now, as a civilization, we haven't reached the point where we're sophisticated enough technologically to simulate a universe in a computer. If we look back 25 years to the BBC Micro, or even further to the days before personal computers, we see how far computers have come in a short space of time. In a few decades' time, it's perfectly feasible that we'll be able to build a computer which could simulate a civilization. Some analysts believe we'll reach the technological singularity in 2045, when computers will surpass humans and become conscious. Looking at our own world, we already see scientists modeling life and the world on computers. We have gamers controlling their avatars on The Sims. The Spore takes it one step further, and cloning and genetic modification are slowly becoming more accepted. We're already playing God. When computers be sufficiently powerful, we'll still be playing God. There's no reason to assume that other technologically advanced civilizations will behave any differently. And even if such a thing was sanctioned, individuals or groups will still be able to find ways around such rules and control. We can argue that if there are civilizations out there with the technological sophistication to simulate life in a computer, then they will probably do so. This means the second point, that all technologically mature civilizations will not be interested in running simulations, is incorrect. So, are we living in a simulation? The simulation argument says that if we take the previous 2 points to be false, the third is true. Therefore, if we believe that there are technologically advanced civilizations out there with the technology to run a simulation of life, and that those civilizations are interested in running a simulation, we will almost definitely be living in a simulation. It's simply a matter of probability and statistics. One computer simulating universe would have to contain billions of organisms, and each technologically advanced civilization will probably have many matrices running simulations. And each of these simulated worlds could have their own technologically advanced civilizations running simulations. And inside those simulations, there could be more simulations. Statistically, most organisms will be living in a computer simulation by several powers. How does this affect us? Whether we live in a computer simulation or not doesn't really affect how we should live our lives. The world is still going to be the same. The same things make us happy, and the same problems will still have to be solved. Even if we're not real, we perceive our world to be real. This is like the brain in a vat thought experiment. We can never be totally sure whether we're materialistically real. We could be inside a computer simulation, but we're still real in the sense that we have thoughts and feelings. If real is what you feel, smell, taste, and see, then real is simply signals interpreted by your brain. Morpheus in the Matrix. More controversially, we could also link it back to religion and creation. If we believe that we're almost definitely living in a computer simulation, we should ask, who built that simulation and why was it built? If we're indeed living in a computer simulation, then it reasons that the simulation was created by somebody, our creator. The argument doesn't tell us anything about why we're here. Could be part of a huge social or scientific experiment. In the Matrix, the human population is used as an energy source. And there will be people who see the simulation argument as a way to prove the existence of God. Though it does suggest an omniscient and omnipotent creator, it doesn't say anything about such a creator. Besides, would a creator create a whole universe of simulated organisms to worship him? If a machine exists that could simulate our existence, then there would be a high probability that we would experience so-called realism imperfections. These bugs in the simulation would be seen or heard due to glitches in the model. For example, stars may or may not exist when viewed through telescopes of varying magnification. Such errors would be inevitable in a simulation of this scale. Have they ever been observed by humans? Let's look at some realism imperfections that indicate we may be living in the Matrix. Firstly, synchronicity. A well-known example of synchronicity involves the true story of French writer Émile Deschamps. In 1805, he was treated to some plum pudding by Monsieur de Fontgibaud. 10 years later, he encountered plum pudding on a menu of a Paris restaurant and wanted to order some, but the waiter told him that the dish had already been served to another customer, who turns out to be Monsieur de Fontgibaud. In 1832, Émile Deschamps visited a restaurant with a friend and is once again offered plum pudding. He recalled the earlier incident and told his friend that only Monsieur de Fontgibaud is missing to make the setting complete. At that moment, a senile Monsieur de Fontgibaud enters the room by mistake. Are these incredible coincidences or glitches in the Matrix? Does it seem that these inexplicable coincidences are increasing at a rapid rate? A magical technique is to command reality to make your intents become real. If you wish for a sum of money and declare it shall soon be given to you, in a few weeks or months an opportunity will arise which will fulfill that intent if you choose to take advantage of it. All such manifestations arise through synchronicity. Example, you're always suffering with financial difficulties, yet money for basic expenses such as rent, food, and utilities always manifests. You begin to trust this. At first you thank the universe or God, then you realize you create this abundance. You're learning to watch how you manifest and why, watching yourself from outside the box. You've just received your last check from unemployment when suddenly a job comes along. You walk into a bookstore not knowing what to buy, and the book you need falls from a shelf and practically hits you over the head. You've been feeling ill with no clear diagnosis. You meet someone who knows a doctor or healer with the answers. All physical problems stem from emotional issues. Your soul will point out the patterns and hopefully the solutions. When the person is ready to heal, the doctor will be there. That person will often show up by synchronicity. This all stems from various levels of depression and self-sabotage stemming from one's DNA or life experiences that have worn them down. When you're confused and in emotional pain, you either have trouble manifesting synchronicities or they're major learning lessons. This is a sudden relocation which seems to be for one reason, but later you find much more than you bargained for as the synchronicities rapidly occur as if a domino effect. For example, you relocate for a new job. As if by synchronicity, someone special comes into your life. You and that person have attracted each other for experience, as all life is nothing more than that. In another case, the energies of the area hold something transformational for you, which is perhaps the reason you inadvertently created the move in the first place. You finally end a bad relationship and immediately another partner comes into your life, as if by synchronicity. You drive to a place where parking is next to impossible, and someone pulls out of a parking spot or one is waiting for you. You meet someone who interests you and touches your heart. Through synchronicity, that person seems to come into your life repeatedly. You begin to feel a destiny with that person. You begin to think with your heart instead of your head. You connect with that person. In some cases, the karma between two people is positive. But in many cases, you have attracted that person into your life for a learning lesson, whether you are aware of it or not. You feel depressed and can't find focus in your life. The next person you talk to says something that brings needed guidance. In a world of wounded souls and evolving consciousness, answers to help and guide will come more quickly and from different sources than in your past. Learn from those who come along, but never be codependent. Synchronicity is evidence that objective reality is not beyond the control of a higher force, the computer which created it. The computer communicates with us symbolically and has the power to influence your program or simulation to bend, not break, the laws of physics, and alter the probability of an event occurring. That's why miracles, which seem improbable, happen only during desperate times when the computer is called upon to arrange them. Something you're seeing for the first time seems familiar. While sensing something new, you feel as if you'd sensed it before. On visiting a place for the first time, you feel like you'd been there before. In these "I've seen this before" or "I've been here before" kind of experiences, you cannot recollect the last time you experienced something very similar to what you currently are. You feel like you had experienced it in reality or perhaps in your dreams. If anything like this has happened to you, you have experienced a déjà vu glitch. Emile Boric, a French researcher in psychology, coined the term déjà vu in an essay about this interesting phenomenon. Most of those who experience déjà vu claim to have been through a similar experience in the past, in their dreams or in reality. Since consciousness is somewhat outside the spans of space and time, and not totally altered when the past is manipulated via direct physical interaction, déjà vu is a memory of an event you just experienced in an original timeline of which you're no longer a part, or perhaps in the same timeline before it was altered. Déjà vu is caused by glitches in the brain's temporal lobe, but much of it is not. Watch out for changes in synchronicity, plans, and destiny after experiencing déjà vu. Someone is messing with your reality. Sometimes it's for the better, and sometimes for the worse. Déjà vu is an indicator that your timeline was just altered, so the path to follow is one of caution and discernment. Writer Philip K. Dick made this point and made it very clearly. We're living in a computer program reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. These alterations feel just like déjà vu, says Dick, a sensation that proves that a variable has been changed and an alternative world branched off. Next time you experience déjà vu, just take a quick second to congratulate yourself on perhaps briefly discovering a bug in the simulation. We all dream, and some are fortunate enough to remember our dreams. We're programmed by institutions such as psychiatry to view our dreams as nothing more than preoccupations. But the Maya and many indigenous cultures understood far better that our dreams were the key to reality rather than the other way around. In many mystical traditions, particularly in Buddhism and Hinduism, we're told that the world around us is actually an illusion. Maya, the Sanskrit word for illusion, is used to describe the world we see, and Brahman is the real world. In Buddhism, the idea is that to wake up, you have to recognize that the world around us is an illusion. In fact, the term Buddha means literally awake. In modern terms, they might just be describing a type of video game that we're all caught within, not unlike the holodeck from Star Trek. We're caught inside the illusory world, while there is a real world just beyond that we cannot normally perceive unless we wake up. In fact, there's a branch of Buddhist yoga called dream yoga, which is used to help us wake up. In dream yoga, a form of lucid dreaming, participants are taught to realize that the dreams we go through at night are simulated experiences. By learning to recognize that we're in a simulation, we can wake ourselves up. The idea is that if we can do this in the fake world of dreams, so that we can do it in the fake world of real life, which is also a simulated reality. Our dreams show us a side of life that we all live when our ego is no longer involved in the process of maintaining the physical. They show us what's really going on from an objective point of perspective, and can also be prophetic, helping us to realize our own power and those weaknesses that must be overcome to live unrestrained. Most of all, they show us how to remain bound in a controlled world, and sometimes they even show us how to break through the boundaries imposed on us by others, and mostly by ourselves. Traditional psychologists would have us think that these dreams manifest to show us just the opposite, how we must find a means to control our impulses and fit into the system, rather than break out of it. If you take your current reality and your dreams and transpose them so that your dreams are your reality and your reality is the dream, you start to get the gist of the program. If you can buy this, then you're starting to understand the Matrix. Many people have reported experiencing glitches in time, where time slips either forward or backward. This has happened to many people. A woman called Jennifer recalls, "I had an amazing experience about 2 years ago in Easton, Pennsylvania. My friend and I had stopped at a traffic light next to a bike store while taking a road trip, when I saw the strangest thing. A young man came out of the bike shop wearing brightly colored clothing and got into his car. As we sat at the light, I turned my head to chat to my companion. A moment later, I turned around and the exact same scene played itself out. The same young man, dressed the same way, got out of the store and got into his car in exactly the same way. Not enough time had elapsed between those moments for the man in question to have been able to get back out of the car, return to the store, and then come back out of the store. The passage of time between these moments, of seeing him come out of the store once, then again, was not more than a few seconds. This is just one experience where we may be seeing a glitch in the Matrix, an action replay, or perhaps a reality shift, or perhaps stepping out of time. The Mandela effect is what happens when someone has a clear, personal memory of something that never happened in this reality. Many people, mostly total strangers, seem to remember several of the exact same events with the exact same details. However, those memories are different from what's in history books, newspaper archives, and so on. It's named after Nelson Mandela, who led the people of South Africa. President Mandela died on December 5th, 2013. However, a large number of people around the world who have never met seem to recall him dying in prison in the 1980s. A number of people with the same memories found each other on online forums, but it was researcher Fiona Broom who first coined the term. She explained that both sides with different memories are still remembering correctly, and that they're the result of memory errors, software glitches in the Matrix computer program. This is explained as being similar to the film The Matrix. Our visible world is less than 3% of the known universe. Our life is severely impaired by our archaic five senses. These expressions of our existence are the compass of our experience. They can also be the greatest diversions and inhibitors of our perception. As soon as we open our eyes, the alluring authority of visual reality compromises the balance between our senses. Our fascination and reliance upon sight instantly shifts our focus and awareness from a multi-dimensional possibility to a two-dimensional sentence. Our blind acceptance of reality confines us within our own invisible prison. Sight is the most manipulated sense in our common reality. Humans, with our robot rovers on faraway planets, our advanced nuclear technology, and our instant global communication, often assume ourselves to be masters of our universe. Yet an entire hidden dimension exists all around us, which we do not often detect. We live in a world of unforeseen phenomena because our eyes only respond to the visible spectrum. The world around us is comprised of energy, but we cannot touch it or see it, and instead we use technology to detect energy ranges on the invisible spectrum, such as electromagnetic fields, infrared rays, and ultraviolet light. We know wireless internet exists because we connect to it with our devices, but we cannot see it permeating our environment. We are profoundly dependent upon what we see. We choose to believe more effortlessly and absolutely in what is visible than what is felt or intuited. It deceives us with our own apathy. Have you ever entered a room and felt not quite right? Or heard someone say, "I'm not getting good vibes"? Morpheus in The Matrix said the Matrix is everywhere. It's all around us. Even now in this very room, you can see it when you look out your window or turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It's the world that's been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. David Icke explained how we think we live in a world. In fact, we live in a frequency range. That's all it is. We're trapped in a frequency range and therefore trapped in an illusion. This is what the well-known movie calls The Matrix. The world we see around us is merely the tiny fraction of multi-dimensional infinity that our physical senses of sight, hearing, touch, smell, and taste can access. The physical world we perceive is like a radio station, and our physical senses are tuned to its frequency. So that's all we can see. But all around us are other frequencies or densities of infinite creation, the ones that science has denied exist. They're all around us on frequencies beyond the range of our physical senses. These are the frequencies that can be seen and heard by animals. It's also curious that in our universe, as far as we can tell, the fastest we can travel from point A to point B is the speed of light. This also happens to be the speed of electrical systems and electromagnetic waves. In a normal video game, the fastest we would be able to send information from one player to the next would be over electrical wires. Why would the fastest we can travel through space be the same as the speed of electromagnetic waves, unless our idea of space was being generated by some form of electromagnetic waves? In both The Matrix and The Invisibles, or Dark City, and its cousin The Truman Show, the main question of awakening as the last goal is central. Our reality is a construct, but there's a truth to it we should aspire to know in order to be free. Fictional reality versus real reality. It will not be easy for us to find our real reality because for a magician to fool his audience, his deceit must go unseen. And to this end, he crafts an illusion to avert attention from reality. Marketing, advertising, and even school are designed to shape and mold you into a worker and consumer. You're a commodity from which to extract energy and resources and have been trapped into giving up your sovereignty. You've been molded into good factory worker, making money for a group of owners. Welcome to the Matrix. Someone is controlling this game, and while the audience is entranced, the deceptive art is committed, and for the fool, reality then becomes inexplicably built upon a lie. That is, until the fool wakes up and recognizes the truth in the fact that he's been duped. Maintaining the suspension of disbelief in the illusion, however, is often more comforting than acknowledging the magician's secrets. We live in a world of illusion. So many of the concerns that occupy the mind and the tasks that fill the calendar arise from planted impulses to become someone or something that we're not. If you haven't seen The Adjustment Bureau, the following narrative may just give the entire premise away. However, the movie is well worth seeing. Have a look for yourself and you'll see why the following is so powerful. The character of Harry Mitchell says, Most people live life on the path we set for them, too afraid to explore any other. But once in a while, people like you come along who knock down all the obstacles we put in your way. People who realize free will is a gift that you'll never know how to use until you fight for it. I think that's the chairman's real plan. That maybe one day we won't write the plan, you will. Remember, as long as you're plugged into the computer program that's running your reality, you can't escape its hold over life. You're literally programming and reprogramming yourself without your conscious will to toe the line of some very sneaky people who would like for you to forget just how powerful a being you truly are. One of the big tricks of the Matrix is the reinforcement of the idea that the present moment is of little to no value, that the past is something we cannot undo or ever forget, and that the future is intrinsically more important than both the past and the present. This carries our attention away from what is happening right now and directs it toward the future. Once completely focused on what is to come rather than what is, we're easy prey to fearmongers who muddy our vision of the future with every possible worry and concern imaginable. They say that time is money, but this is a lie. Time is your life. Your life is an ever-evolving manifestation of the now. Looking beyond the five-sense world, where we've been trained to move in accordance with the clock and the calendar, we find that the spirit is eternal, and that each individual soul is part of this eternity. We are happiest when life doesn't box us in, when spontaneity and randomness give us the chance to find out more about ourselves. Forfeiting the present moment in order to fantasize about the future is a trap. The immense, timeless moments of spiritual joy that are found in quiet meditation are proof that time is a construct of the mind of humankind, and not necessarily mandatory for the human experience. If time is money, then life can be measured in dollars. When dollars are worthless, so is life. This is a total deception because life, in truth, is absolutely priceless. Every time we get into comfort and routine and reach for that TV remote instead of reaching for our dreams, we're giving into the pull of the Matrix. Every time we say "I can't" to an opportunity or challenge because we doubt our own abilities, we're allowing the Matrix to control us. Every time we resist leaving our comfort zones and do the same thing over and over, simply hoping for good things to fall into our laps, rather than earnestly working to change our own circumstances, we're letting that same Matrix rule over us. We give power to and feed this Matrix ourselves. Fear, habit, doubt, and scarcity mindedness keeps us trapped and unable to walk through the door that's always open and leads to our freedom. The Matrix is like the force of gravity, which exerts a strong pull and is very hard to escape. Like those in the Matrix, most people today have no idea that they live in a world completely under the control of a malevolent ruler who can lose control of the game. Because fortunately, we still have two fundamental choices: blue pill or red pill. On the one hand, we can continue to live an illusion of ignorance by accepting others' constructions of reality, no matter how Orwellian. Or we can opt for living the truth of reality by being willing to take control of our careers and our lives. The red pill would seem to be the most sane choice, but it's not an easy one. And it might be the most difficult choice while living in a world that does not support it. It's an inside job and a one-man or woman job. Those that take it are supported by the universe and by the truth, but not from those they're accustomed to, usually. One must be willing to let go of everything that's not truth in the quest for the truth. And perhaps this explains why so few make the journey. Living in untruth guarantees that ultimately we will all attempt to make that journey. We really don't have a choice. The only question anyone should ask themselves is, am I ready to wake up?